There's something happening inside the Ravens right now that completely changes the tone heading into Sunday. Justice Hill being ruled out opened up a massive hole in this offense, and that opening falls straight into Keaton Mitchell's lap, and it comes at the exact moment he's been climbing, touching the ball every week, and shifting the tempo every time he steps on the field. It's the kind of situation that makes people stop and think, hold on, this might be a lot bigger than it looks. And the timing couldn't be heavier. The Browns' defense is one of the toughest groups in the league. Derrick Henry usually stalls against them, and the Ravens desperately need someone who can make that defense hesitate for even a second. Mitchell is exactly that type of player. Fast, unpredictable, and able to turn the smallest crease into a huge play. Everything that's happened these last few weeks points in the same direction, and that's why this might be the most exciting news of the season for anyone following this team. The news that Justice Hill is out completely changed the picture for the Ravens this week. Without him, the backfield suddenly has a huge opening that didn't exist before, and that opening has Keaton Mitchell's name written all over it. It's one of those situations where something unexpected happens, and out of nowhere, the perfect opportunity for someone to show everything they can do appears. That makes even more sense when you look at how Mitchell has been trending. He got 4 carries in each of the last 3 games, while he'll basically vanish from the plan. Even though it wasn't a lot, it was obvious Mitchell was earning the coaching staff's trust. It felt like the Ravens were testing him slowly, seeing what he'd do every time he touched the ball. Now, with Hill out, that test becomes real responsibility. Mitchell has the burst and the agility this offense needs when things start getting too predictable. He changes the pace, creates possibilities, and brings a different spark that can help this offense breathe again, especially in a huge division matchup. And what makes all of this even more interesting is that this bigger role didn't appear out of nowhere. It comes after weeks of Mitchell showing he deserved more, with the perfect scenario forming right in front of him. It's pretty clear this story still has room to grow. In the last few weeks, it's been clear Keaton Mitchell wasn't just filling a roster spot. He was actually rising, even with low volume. He showed up every week, always with that same pattern of 4 carries per game. It might sound small, but when someone who wasn't even active early in the season suddenly becomes a consistent part of the rotation, that tells you a lot. It's like the team was quietly clearing space for him, preparing the ground. Meanwhile, Justice Hill practically disappeared from the run game. Just 3 carries in that same stretch. That huge gap made it obvious that the coaching staff was watching Mitchell differently, testing him in real situations and seeing immediate impact. Mitchell wasn't just touching the ball. He was changing the rhythm, injecting life into the offense, and proving why so many people kept asking for more involvement. That gradual climb makes everything feel natural now that Hill is out. Mitchell isn't stepping in out of nowhere. He's been building toward this moment. Confidence grows when a team has already seen a player respond well multiple times. That's why Sunday doesn't feel like a gamble. It feels like the natural result of everything Mitchell has been doing since he started carving out space in the plan. And that sense of constant progression creates a really interesting atmosphere for what comes next. Because if Mitchell was already making a difference with such limited volume, imagine the impact when the opponent is one of the toughest teams in the league to run against. Facing the Cleveland Browns isn't something you shrug off just because they're 2-7. Their defense is legit disciplined and makes every offense fight hard for every yard. They allow almost no space, control the middle of the field, and force opponents to get creative. Baltimore already lived that in Week 2. They won the game, but could barely run the ball. Just 45 rushing yards tell the whole story. And it's not just Baltimore. Derrick Henry, a guy known for bulldozing entire defenses, was held to 23 yards on 11 carries. When even he disappears, you understand how heavy that Browns front really is. They walk on the field expecting the exact type of downhill. Physical run Henry brings, which locks up a defense when it refuses to break out of that style. It's the perfect defense to shut down a unit that doesn't change its approach. That's why Mitchell fits this matchup so perfectly. He doesn't attack the same lanes Henry does. He's quicker, sharper, finds tiny cracks, and turns simple plays into unexpected gains. against a defense that's bracing for physicality. Putting someone with the style on the field flips their reads and forces adjustments. And when a defense at this level has to rethink what it's seeing, the offense breathes. A game against the Browns always demands someone who can break the rhythm, someone who makes the defense hesitate for a split second. Mitchell is exactly that type of player, and the timing of the season only makes everything more symbolic, especially when the offense needs something new to avoid the same old problems.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
Derrick Henry is still one of the most respected players in the league, but everyone knows his style makes the offense more predictable. He's powerful, he punishes defenses, he wears opponents down, but he does it the same way every time. And when you face defenses that already expect that type of run, the offense loses its element of surprise. Against the Browns, that matters even more, because they love facing that physical style and walk on the field ready to shut it down before it even begins. Mitchell, on the other hand, is almost the perfect opposite. He shifts the offense's tempo. He accelerates where nobody expects, cuts where nobody anticipates, and reads the field in a way that forces the defense out of its comfort zone. When he touches the ball, you can feel the offense breathing differently. And that's not theory. It's exactly what's been happening every time he gets real opportunities. The defense has no idea whether he's going outside, cutting inside, or turning a tiny gap into a big play. The numbers only reinforce that difference. Mitchell is averaging 6.2 yards per carry this season, and as a rookie he posted an insane 8.4 yards per touch. That doesn't happen by luck. It happens because he sees the field differently and has that first-step agility that ruins a defensive plan instantly. And when the offense mixes a player like him with someone like Henry, everything becomes much harder to predict. Baltimore needs exactly that right now. They can't keep repeating the same formula, expecting it to magically work against a defense that reads plays as fast. And it's in this blend of power with speed, predictability with explosiveness, that Mitchell stops being just an alternative. He becomes a solution that's been sitting there waiting for the right moment. What makes this moment even clearer is how Mitchell had already been grabbing attention with low volume. For carries per game over the last 3 weeks might sound small, but it says a lot about the coaching staff's trust. Remember, he spent the entire first month inactive, not even dressing on game day. Going from that to becoming a consistent presence shows the team already knew he changed things whenever he had the ball. Those recent chances were small, but more than enough to show immediate impact. He ran for 31 yards against Minnesota, averaging 7.8 per carry. Eye-catching numbers when you consider how solid the Vikings' defense is, very similar to Cleveland's. That kind of production can't be ignored anymore. Every time he steps on the field, something happens. That's the difference between a regular player and someone who can actually swing a game. Hill's injury, combined with Henry's struggles against defenses built like this, create the perfect setup for Mitchell to finally get the workload people have been asking for since the preseason. It's not about forcing anything. It's about taking advantage of a matchup that makes sense within the game plan. Baltimore needs someone who can change the tempo before the defense settles, and Mitchell naturally does that. Everything this week pushes the Ravens' offense toward a decisive moment. Keaton Mitchell finally has the space, the momentum, and the perfect type of opponent to show the impact people have been feeling every time he touches the ball. Hill being out, Henry struggling against defenses like this, and Mitchell fitting perfectly against Cleveland's style all create a rare scenario, one that can truly change a team's rhythm in the most physical game of the division. Now tell me, do you think this is a game where Mitchell stops being just potential and becomes a real piece of this offense? Because looking at how everything lined up this week, it feels like the season put this moment right in front of him, and whatever he does on Sunday might directly shape the future of this attack.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.